Hello everyone and welcome to today's lesson of the Butterfly Princess Academy, where curiosity takes flight and wisdom wears wings. Today we're going to look at the Aztec goddess of fresh water, Chalchiuhtlicue. Today's lecture is entitled Chalchiuhtlicue, the Aztec goddess of fresh water and sustaining life. So before I tell you about Chalchiuhtlicue, I want to tell you a bit about who the Aztecs were and how important Chalchiuhtlicue was to the Aztecs. So firstly, about who were the Aztecs? The Aztecs were a Mesoamerican civilization that flourished in central Mexico from the 14th to 16th centuries. Originating as nomadic Inuit-speaking peoples, they settled in the valley of Mexico and founded Tenochtitlan in 1325, which became the capital of their empire. By 1428, they formed a triple alliance with Texaco and creating a powerful empire that dominated trade, agriculture, and welfare until the Spanish conquest in 1521. Their society was deeply religious, with a pantheon of gods governing natural forces and human endeavours. Why was Chalchiuhtlicue important to the Aztecs? Chalchiuhtlicue, whose name means she of the Jade Skirt, was the goddess of freshwater rivers, lakes, and fertility. Her significance stemmed from agricultural survival. Fresh water was critical for crops like maize, the Aztec dietary staple. Chalchiuhtlicue ensured rivers and lakes remained in abundance, directly linking her to food security. Cosmic order. She ruled the fourth sun, an era destroyed by a catastrophic flood. This myth reinforced the Aztec belief in cyclical time and regeneration. Fertility and birth. She protected newborns and oversaw childbirth rituals, symbolising water's role in life's beginnings. Duality. As both a life giver, providing water, and destroyer, causing floods, she embodied nature's balance, a core Aztec philosophical concept. Rituals to honour her included sacrifices, children and captives during Aztec festivals, blending gratitude with appeasement of her destructive potential. Questions and answers. So, how did Chalchiuhtlicue rose differ from Tlaloc? So, while Tlaloc governed rain, Chalchiuhtlicue ruled freshwater bodies like rivers and lakes. Together, they symbolise water's dual source, rain from the sky and water on the ground. Why was her association with jade significant? Jade symbolised purity, fertility, and the blue-green hues of water. Her jade skirt linked her to life's purity and nobility, elevating water's sacred status. What rituals honoured Chalchiuhtlicue? During the dry season, a girl was sacrificed to her in Lake Texaco, while a boy was offered Tlaloc. This month-long festival included feasting, fasting, and sacrifices to ensure water abundance. How did the her flood myth shape Aztec belief? The fourth sun's destruction by flood symbolised cyclical renewal. Survivors became fish, reflecting adaptability and the necessity of honouring natural forces to avoid divine warmth. Why was she linked to childbirth? Newborns were ritually bathed in fresh water to cleanse them of impurities, invoking her protection. Midwives prayed to her during labour, carrying water to both physical and spiritual birth. Chalchiuhtlicue analysis to Aztec life underscores their reverence for nature's balance and the independence of survival and spirituality. So I've told you now a bit about who the Aztecs were and why the goddess Chalchiuhtlicue was important to them. Now I want to tell you a bit about the goddess Chalchiuhtlicue herself, so here goes. Introduction. In the pantheon of Aztec deities, Chalchiuhtlicue stands as a vital figure embodying the life-giving and destructive forces of fresh water. Her name, derived from Nahuatl words, translates into English as she is of the Jade Skirt, a poetic nod to her association with pristine waters and fertility. Revered as the guardian of rivers, lakes, springs, and of fresh water sources, Chalchiuhtlicue was both a nurturing mother and a fearsome agent of cosmic renewal. So, who was Chalchiuhtlicue? Chalchiuhtlicue was the Aztec goddess of fresh water, initially linked to the subsistence of agriculture and human life. Unlike her male counterpart, Tlaloc, the storm god who governed rain, Chalchiuhtlicue's domain encompassed terrestrial waters, which included rivers that nourish crops, lakes teeming with fish, and springs that quenched thirst. She was also a fertility deity, overseeing childbirth and infant care, reflecting water's role as the source of life. Myths depict her as both a compassionate protector and a fearsome destroyer, whose waters could nurture civilization or drown them in apocalyptic floods. Origins and cosmic role. Chalchiuhtlicue's origins are rooted in Aztec cosmology, when she was considered either the sister, wife, or female counterpart of Tlaloc. According to the Florentine Codex, a 16th century apocrypha by Franciscan friar Berdrig de Silva, she persisted over the fourth moon. In the Aztec creation myth, each sun represented an era ruled by a different deity and destroyed by elementary catastrophes. Chalchiuhtlicue reign ended when she transformed her subjects into fish and flooded the earth, setting the stage for the fifth sun, the current era. This dual duality, creator and destroyer, underscored the Aztecs' belief in cyclical renewal and delicate balance between humanity and nature. Cultural significance and worship. Chalchiuhtlicue's influence permeated daily life. Farmers prayed to her for fertile soils, while midwives evoked her during childbirth. The Aztecs engineered intricate canal systems and floating gardens around Lake Texaco, viewing these marvels as manifestations of her blessings. Rituals often involved offerings of jade shells and blue-green pigment, symbols of water's purity, and statues of the goddess were adorned with acrylic plants like reeds and water lilies. Her connection to Tlaloc extended in their shared reunion of supernatural aids like figures, dwarf-like beings who distributed rain and fresh water from sacred mountains. Chalchiuhtlicue festival overlaps with Tlaloc rites, but her unique role in childbirth and infant health made her a household deity. Parents would ceremonially bathe newborns in rivers to seek her protection, believing water embodied children with virtuality. Myths and folklore. The most famous myth involving Chalchiuhtlicue is the destruction of the fourth son. Grieving over humanity's corruption, she wept uncontrollably, causing a catastrophic flood that lasted 52 years. Survivors transformed into fish, symbolising the cynical nature of existence. This story reinforced the Aztec worldview of civilization's rise and fall by divine will, and water is both a source of life and a tool of cosmic justice. Another legend tells of Chalchiuhtlicue gifting the Aztecs the aquil, a mythical water vessel, to ensure their survival during droughts. Folk traditions also describe her as a shapeshifter, appearing as a serpent or a woman in a shimmering green robe to test the piety of travellers near springs. Those who respected her waters were rewarded. Those who polluted them faced her warmth. Festivals and rituals. Chalchiuhtlicue was honoured during a festival that translates, an Aztec festival that translates into English as Season of Waters, a festival held in the month of February to mark the end of the dry season. Communities offered maize dough, figurines, jade beads, and child sacrifices, rain bringers, to ensure abundant rains. Victims, often infants or prisoners, were ritually drowned in her sacred springs, their tears believed to evoke her mercy. Another key Aztec ceremony celebrated in the month of June involved feasting on maize stew and reenacting mythological floods. Participants wore turquoise garments and carried reeds to her temples, singing hymns that praised her as the lifeblood of the earth. These festivals highlighted water's sacredness and the community's independence with natural cycle. Personality and depiction. Chalchiuhtlicue was revered as a maternal yet stern, embodying water's paradoxical qualities. She nurtured crops in childbirth, but could unleash torrents to cleanse the world of impurity. Artwork on conguses like the burger and depicts her wearing a jade studded skirt with a headdress of swirling waves, and her face painted in a blue-green colour. She often holds a water jug or a stalk of maize, symbolising abundance. Sculptures show her surrounded by acrylic creatures that include fish, frogs, and serpents, emphasising her domain over freshwater ecosystems. Relevance in art and modern culture. Chalchiuhtlicue imagery persists in Mexican art, from Diego Rivera's murals to contemporary indigenous crafts. Environmentalists evoke her as a symbol of water conservation, particularly in debates over pollution and resource management. The 2017 installation Chalchiuhtlicue by artist Betsy B. Romero, featuring recycled materials in patterns, emphasise her modern resourcefulness. In rural Mexico, syncretic traditions blend her worship with Catholic saints like Our Lady of Guadalupe, illustrating her enduring spiritual role. Feminist scholars also reinterpret her mythology, framing her as a proto-ecological figure whose stories teach respect for nature's power and fragility. Conclusion. Chalchiuhtlicue legacy as the Aztec goddess of fresh water transcends ancient myths. She represents humanity's awe of water's life-sustaining forces and the recognition of its destructive potential. In an era of climate crisis, her mythology urges a return to reverence for natural resources, a lesson as vital as it is in the zenith of Tenicola. By honouring Chalchiuhtlicue, we acknowledge water's sacred role in connecting past, present, and future. Chalchiuhtlicue, a historical and cultural analysis of the Aztec freshwater goddess. Chalchiuhtlicue, the Aztec goddess of freshwater and fertility, occupies a complex and vital role in Mesoamerican cosmology. Her influence extends beyond beyond mythology into the social, political, agriculture, and spiritual fabric of Aztec society. Historical context, origins and evolution. Chalchiuhtlicue's origins predate the Aztec Empire. Rooted in early Mesoamerican water deities, her iconography and attributes, such as her jade green skirt and association with serpents, suggest synchronization with Maya and Toltec war spirits. Maya, goddess of fertility and water, and a lesser known deity. The Aztecs, inheritors of a rich cultural tapestry, elevated her as a primary deity during their rise in the 14th and 16th centuries, aligning her with their resilience of Lake Mexico and its floating garden systems. As the consort or sister of Tlaloc, the storm god, Chalchiuhtlicue role reflects a gender division of power. While Tlaloc controls celestial waters such as rain, she governs terrestrial waters such as rivers, lakes, and springs. Embodying the Aztec belief in contemporary Judaism in the black ink, the red colour. This duality mirrored social structures where male and female forces balance cosmic order. Cosmology's significance for some. Right, so I've already told you that. Cultural practices. Chalchiuhtlicue worship was deeply integrated in daily life and state religion. So agricultural rites. Farmers offered maize, aramith and blue-painted pottery at riverbanks to ensure fertile harvest. The Aztecs viewed fresh water as the blood of the earth, and their blessings were crucial for their for their economy. Childbirth and infant care. Midwives performed rituals evoking Chalchiuhtlicue to protect newborns. Infants were ritually bathed in streams, symbolising their intuition into a world sustained by water. Sacrificial offerings. During one particular Aztec festival, children often abandoned as miniature Tlaloc figures were sacrificed by drowning. The Florentine Codex describes these victims as rain-bringers, whose tears were believed to appease the goddess and ensure seasonal rains. These practices highlight the Aztec worldview, pragmatism and spirituality. Water was both a physical resource and a sacred entity, demanding respectability. Art and symbolism depiction of the goddess. So, Chalchiuhtlicue iconography is rich with acrylic and fertility motifs. Attire. She wears a jade-skinned skirt and a serpent-shaped headdress, symbolising her domination over water and life. Her face is often painted blue-green, the colour of pristine lakes. Attributes. She holds a water jug or a flowering staff representing abundance. In the Codex Borgia, she stands atop a serpentine river flanked by frogs and fish. Agricultural presence. Temples dedicated to her, such as those in the sacred precedent, feature stone carvings of waves and acrylic plants. These structures often doubled as reservoirs, merging utility with devotion. Her imagery reinforced her role as a bridge between the human and divine, material and spiritual. Social political role, water and power. Chalchiuhtlicue cult was instrumental in legitimising Aztec political power. Rulers used hydraulic projects, canals, aqueducts, and dams to frame themselves as intermediaries between the goddess and the people. Control over water resources mirrored control over life itself, a theme echoed in propaganda and public art. The goddess also served as a moral enforcer. Myth warned that polluting rivers or wasting water would incite her warmth and with it was a belief confided in Aztec law. The Codex Mendoza records penalties for diverting irrigation channels, illegally reflecting the state's enforcement of ecological ethics in her name. Post-conquest transformation and synchronization. So, Spanish colonization sought to eradicate Chalchiuhtlicue worship, but her legacy persisted through segregation. Indigenous communities merged her with Catholic figures like Our Lady of Guadalupe, whose appreciation hill was originally enshrined an Earth Mother Goddess. Chalchiuhtlicue's association with purity and nurturing make her an art counterpart to marine icons. In modern Mexico, her symbolism resurfaces in environmental movements. Activists protesting water privatisation or pollution involve her as an emblem of ecological justice, framing rivers as living entities with legal rights, a concept rooted in pre-beliefs. Right, so artists like Nguyen Sculpture incorporates her imagery into works addressing climate change, cultural perspectives, controversies and debates. Chalchiuhtlicue's legacy is not without contention. Some scholars critique the Aztec economic harmony narrative, noting that child sacrifice and expansion, for example, the Aztec exploitation of states for resources complicates her image as a benevolent goddess. Others argue that her worship reflects a relationship with nature rather than the music reverence often projected onto pre-colonial societies. Conclusion: Chalchiuhtlicue represents her role as a mythical figure. She embodies the Aztec understanding of water as a cosmic force, similarly creative and destructive, mundane and divine. Historically, her cult shaped laws, urban planning, and spiritual life. Culturally, she remains a touchstone for Mexican identity and global ecological discourse. In analysing her, we uncover not only the sophistication of Aztec thought, but also timeless lessons about humanity's relationship with the natural world. Her jade skirt, shimmering across centuries, reminds us that water is both a resource and responsibility. So here are some questions about Chalchiuhtlicue. So 1. How did Chalchiuhtlicue's dual role as a life giver and destroyer reflect Aztec cosmology's embrace of duality? Chalchiuhtlicue embodied the Aztec belief in balance through opposing forces. As a life giver, she provided fresh water for crops, rituals in childbirth, symbolising fertility and renewal. Yet her destructive capacity, floods and storms, underscores nature's unpredictability. This duality mirrored the Aztec view of the cosmos, whose creation and destruction were intertwined. Rituals honouring her sought to appease both aspects, emphasising humanity's humble role in maintaining cosmic harmony. What does the myth of the fourth sun reveal about Chalchiuhtlicue's connection to cyclical time and renewal? According to the myth, Chalchiuhtlicue presided over the fourth sun as an era destroyed by catastrophic floods. Survivors transformed into fish, symbolising adaptation and continuity. This narrative highlights the Aztec understanding of time as cyclical, where each era or sun ends in chaos, but precedes rebirth. Chalchiuhtlicue's flood was not merely destructive, it cleared the way for the fifth sun, reflecting her role as a catalyst for regeneration and the impermanence of existence. How did Chalchiuhtlicue's association with fertility extend beyond agriculture into social and spiritual realms? Beyond nourishing crops, Chalchiuhtlicue was linked to human fertility and childbirth. Newborns were ritually bathed in water to evoke her protection, akin to a spiritual baptism. She also governed water-based purification rites, which cleansed individuals and communities of moral or physical impurities. Her influence was permeated personal milestones and collective well-being, framing water as both a physical and metaphysical sustainer of life. In what ways did you like her Jade Skirt encode cultural values? Chalchiuhtlicue's name, she of the Jade Skirt, and her depictions, adorned with blue-green hues, linked her to virtuality. Jade symbolised water's life-giving essence and was associated with the nobility and the divine. Her attire also featured reeds and acrylic creatures, reinforcing her domination over lakes and rivers. This imagery communicated water's sacredness and its role as a social cornerstone, blending material wealth with ecological reverence. Why might Chalchiuhtlicue worship have involved both gratitude and fear, and how did this shape rituals? Water's dual capacity to nurture and devastate necessitating rituals, balancing gratitude and appeasement. During her festivals, offerings of maize, flowers, and even human sacrifices were made to ensure abundant rains and avid floods. These acts reflected the Aztec worldview of respect where humans owe debts to the gods for their gifts. Chalchiuhtlicue worship thus became a negotiation, honouring her generosity while pleading for mercy. How does Chalchiuhtlicue's legacy challenge modern perceptions of environmental stewardship? Chalchiuhtlicue eventually underscores the Aztecs' recognition of water's sacredness and fragility. Today, her symbolism invites reflection on humanity's relationship with natural resources. By viewing water as both a divine gift and a force demanding respect, her legacies challenge modern societies to adapt sustainable practices rooted in reverence rather than exploitation, aligning ecological health with cultural spirituality. Here are some rhetorical questions. Can we truly comprehend the power of water without acknowledging its capacity to both nurture and devastate? Insight. Chalchiuhtlicue's dual role as life-giver and destroyer mirrors humanity's fragile dependence on water, a resource which sustains civilizations yet can erase them in moments of divine warmth. Her mythology forces us to confront the paradox of relying on a force that demands humility and respect. What does it say about humanity that our survival hinges on the mercy of forces we cannot control? Insight. The destruction of the fourth sun reveals the Aztec understanding of existence as cynical and contagious. In an era of climate change, Chalchiuhtlicue's floods resonate as a metaphor for nature's power to reset human arrogance. How do we reconcile the reverence for life with rituals that demanded its ultimate sacrifices? Insight. Child sacrifice to Chalchiuhtlicue challenges modern moral frameworks, yet they underscore the Aztec belief in responsible life given to sustain life. This tension invites reflection on how societies prioritise survival and spirituality. In an age of climate change, does Chalchiuhtlicue's mythology offer a blueprint for ecological respect or a cautionary tale of nature's retribution? Insight. Her narrative urges a return to viewing nature as sacred. Indigenous movements today evoke her to argue for rivers' legal rights, blending ancient reverence with contemporary environmental justice. What does the fusion of Chalchiuhtlic with Marian icons reveal about the resilience of indigenous spirituality under colonial erasure? The blending of Chalchiuhtlic with Our Lady of Guadalupe emphasise how marginalised cultures adapt and preserve their beliefs, transforming oppression into a tool for survival. Right. When we depict deities like Chalchiuhtlic in modern art, are we preserving her legacy or a sacred narrative for contemporary discourse? Insights. Artists like Betsy B. Romero reimagine her as an ecological icon, yet this raises questions about who controls sacred symbolism and whether modern reinterpretations honour or exploit ancestral traditions. Does Chalchiuhtlic's dominant dominion over territorialised waters, juxtaposed with Tlalocan's celestial realm, reflects an ancient understanding of gender complementary or a hierarchical division of divine labour. Insights. Her role as Tlalocan's counterpart highlights the Aztec valuation of balance, yet it also mirrors social structures where male and female spheres were distinct but independent, a dynamic ripe for feminine reinterpretation. Can rituals like the Aztec festivals, teach us about the social coercion fostered through shared reverence for natural elements? Insights. Festivals honouring Chalchiuhtlic were not just acts of worship, but acts of community building, reminding us that collective rituals can forge unity in the face of external threats, of existential threats. Is the Aztec ecological harmony narrative a romanticised myth obscuring the complexities of empire and resource exploitation? Insight. While Chalchiuhtlic's worship emphasised water's tranquility like Aztec emphasis expansion relied on extracting tribute and labour, a contradiction that complicates idealised views of pre-colonial sustainability. Right. If Chalchiuhtlic's floods were a reset for human sins, what cataclysm might our own ecological negligence invite? How her mythology serves as a stark warning. Civilizations like nature risk involving a modern day deluge, one driven not by gods but by human folly. Final reflection. Chalchiuhtlic's legacy is a mirror held to humanity's relationship with nature, power, and mortality. Her jade skirt shimmers not just as a relic of the past, but as a beacon for navigating the turbulent waters of the present. How will we answer her silent ancient question? Closing reflections, Chalchiuhtlicue timeless legacy. Chalchiuhtlicue, the Aztec goddess of fresh water, transcends the boundaries of myth and history to speak to the universal human existence of water's sacred duality. Her stories of nurturing rivers and apocalyptic floods force demanding relevance in an age of climate crisis. Her mythology challenges us to confront our relationship with nature. Are we stewards or exploiters? Do we honour water's life-giving powers, or have we forgotten its capacity to humble civilisations? The Aztecs understood that survival depended on harmony with natural cycles, a lesson etched into their rituals, laws, and arts. Chalchiuhtlicue's jade skirt, shimmering with the reflection of lakes and rivers, symbolises a truth we must urgently reclaim. Water is the thread that weaves together past, present, and future. Her legacy urges us to listen to the whispers of ancient wisdom, to protect freshwater ecosystems, celebrate cultural resilience, and recognise that every drop carries the weight of life itself. And that, ladies and final thought. Chalchiuhtlicue's mythology is not a relic of the past, but a mirror held to our present. As droughts purge continents and storms drown cities, her voice echoes across centuries. Water is life, but it is also justice. Let her jade skirt remind us to walk lightly on this earth, to cherish every stream and cloud, and to remember that in the dance of creation and destruction, humility is our greatest strength. May her stories inspire us to rise to a future where rivers still sing and humanity learns to flow with this current of balance. And that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, concludes today's lesson at the Butterfly Princess Academy. I would like to thank you for joining me for today's lesson at the Academy. And I hope very much that you will be able to join me in the very near future for more lessons here at the Butterfly Princess Academy, where curiosity takes flight and wisdom does indeed wear wings. But until next time, take care, and I will see you again very, very soon. Bye-bye for now.